Kellyanne Conway doubling down on attacking the Russia matter after the FBI fires Peter Strzok over those anti-Trump text messages. A former top FBI official calls Strzok's termination justified. He's written a stinging op-ed about it, too. The author of that piece is Chris Swecker. He's with me now, former FBI assistant director of the FBI. And, sir, thank you for your time. And I knew you knew Andrew McCabe and James Comey. I don't know how well, but perhaps you can characterize how well your relationship ran.
Well, I worked with former Director Comey when he was the Deputy Attorney General. I've met Andrew McCabe. And these are people who have done service in the government over an extended period of time. And it was very disappointing to see what they did when they became sort of the Comey skinny inner circle, as it's been referred to. These are people that violated a number of rules and procedures. They did self-serving leaks. They did the very thing that they were investigating Hillary Clinton for, and that was using their personal email for official business, sending classified information on personal email. They violated all these rules and procedures, and then they try to wrap themselves in the mantle of the FBI and represent themselves as heroes. And that's what myself and many of my current and former colleagues deeply resent, is the way they reflected poorly on the Bureau and yet try to wrap themselves in the mantle of the FBI and the fidelity, bravery, and integrity which they violated.
Here's just 2 lines from your piece on screen. Strzok, Comey, and McCabe should stand in shame and dishonor for their failure to live up to the core FBI values of fidelity, bravery, and integrity. America is better off the firings of these 3 from an outstanding law enforcement agency. They would argue they were acting out of honor and duty, Chris. How do you merge those 2?
Yeah, you just can't. I mean, there are bad CEOs out in the corporate world, and in this case, the FBI got a bad CEO, and then he promoted these 2 other people up 3 levels within about a year or so to complete that inner circle. They were yes men. They didn't think the rules applied to them. They set their own personal judgments about Trump. They put their finger on the scale or their thumb on the scale of the Clinton email investigation, and then very aggressively pursued the Trump investigation or the Russia investigation. You know, the mantra of the FBI is you go in with blinders, you go in with integrity, you conduct a thorough, objective investigation, none of which happened in either case here.
Well, if you believe that, then other people within the FBI probably believe it as well. Would you agree with that? And if that is the case, how do you think your opinion affects the Mueller matter? I mean, is this whole thing tainted, or can you get around that?
Well, first of all, I've heard from literally hundreds of my current and former colleagues who agree with this. They don't think that these 3 people represent the FBI and the good men and women of the FBI. To your question about the special counsel Mueller, I've worked directly under Mueller. I think he has integrity. I never once in my over 400 meetings with him in the 2.5 years I served under him saw him indicate any bias or political persuasion whatsoever. He didn't tolerate it. I'm not crazy about his team, but I don't think he's going to frame anybody up. However, the origins of the investigation are in question. The dossier, the FISA, the information used in the FISA, the type of information that they used to gin up the investigation needs to be looked at, and I hope that the Inspector General is continuing to look at that. But I'm one of those people that believes that the Russians are up to no good, and they're trying to undermine our democracy in a deadly serious way. And I think the special counsel can get at that if we just allow to do his business.
Okay, interesting answer there. But if you believe the original point of the investigation was tainted, how then can you move forward on this? How do you separate that part of the investigation from what you described there at the end about the Russian interference?
The core of the case, the Russian espionage, is really not in dispute whatsoever. The question is whether people within the Trump campaign assisted, conspired, went along with, traded dirt for lessening up the sanctions, or a promise to lessen up on sanctions or ease up on sanctions. That's the question mark. So really the origins of the investigation go to whether the Trump campaign had something to do with it. And you need to go all the way back to the dossier and the original information, which we haven't seen. And that's what the FBI needs to produce. So
you are keeping an open mind about that, then? That's what I hear from that answer, correct?
That's correct.
Let's see where it goes.
We know the Russians are up to no good.
Yep.
We know the Russians are trying to undermine us.
I hope you come back, okay? There's a lot more to explore with this. Chris Swecker, thank you for your time in Oak Hill, North Carolina today.